Safari Rally. That's just part of the conversation that we are going to be having. But on the general news outlook, we've got a lot to keep up with. First, there is the Musalia Mudavadi reaction. Yesterday, we know he made the announcement that he was going to go for the presidency. And what are different politicians and members of the public saying about the announcement that was made yesterday? We shall be taking a look at that. And then the ODM leader, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, is going to be meeting with Muranga leaders, and this is going to be happening at the Thika Greens. Plus, also, we've got the Interior Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, the Principal Secretary for the Interior, Engineer Dr. Karanja Kibicho, and the Inspector General of Police, Hilary Mutiambai, and Senior Security Chiefs. They will be holding a meeting on security preparedness for the general election. This is going to be happening at the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. We shall be covering that too. And also, the Mount Kenya Foundation will today host Ma community leaders to a luncheon in Nairobi, and they want to look at how the two communities from Mount Kenya and from the Ma communities can work together. And also, we will always keep up with the Kenya Forestry Service. Environmental conservation is a very important part of everything. So we're going to be having stories all about that are going to be told to you by our news team that is out there in the field. That and much more, and also not forgetting that we've got an ITF Junior Tournament, and this is happening at the Nairobi Club. Our reporter Daniel Mwendwa is going to be out there, and he's going to give us an update on this Junior Tournament that comes even as Angela Okutoi became the first Kenyan girl to win a Grand Slam match at the Australian Open. She won it yesterday, the first Kenyan girl from Kenya to win. She's been here. We've seen her growth over the years, ever since she won the Kenya Open Tennis Championship when she was only 14. Now she's the country's #1 and making Kenya proud in the land down under. All that happening over the next 2 hours right here on Sports Check. Our sign language interpreter, she's going to be joining us, is going to be Lensa Odingo. And let's get straight into our first conversation. What you think of a Kenyan who is rallying outside the country? Well, two names come to mind. One is Ngengi Kamau. He is known for rallying out on the west coast of the United States. And another one is one who bothered one of Kenya's most celebrated navigators. That's a story he's given me. And eventually got into motorsport. And his bothers turned out to be that there is now a fully fledged rally academy by two of Kenya's celebrated motorsportsmen. One is Abdul Sidi, the other is Azhar Anwar. Their student, Brian Movie, who's based in Texas, and he's in the country here on holiday before he leaves. He's given us his time, and we say, welcome, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And Brian, first of all, you were giving me that story about catching Abdul Sidi and eventually trying to tell him, teach me how to read pace notes, how to be a navigator.
Right.
How did that come about?
So it started around 2008 when we were doing autocross. So Arthur Kinyanjui, the late Arthur Kinyanjui, God rest his soul, introduced me into autocross. So I kept on having an itch for motorsports, and we decided to move over from autocross to rallies, but we had no know-how. We didn't know how to do anything. So we found out Abdul Sidi's office. So every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we would go there. Is Abdul Sidi in? Is Abdul Sidi in? And he'd give us his time. So it ended up like that every day. And then he's like, you know what? I think I should start a school. Because he kept on giving me his books. I returned them. Give me his books. I returned them. I learned. So just progressed from there. Yeah.
What was your experience starting with the autocrossing? Because that's autocross and motocross are considered to be the training school for eventual rally drivers.
Right. It was great because of the community that we had then. Good people, Anthony Nielsen, Steve Anthony, Ian Duncan, all those guys. They were really, warm. I didn't race all the time. I probably raced like maybe 4, 5, 6 times. But they were really warm with advice and all of that. So it was great. It was great having to do that with Arthur and the guys. Yeah.
Your transition to rallying, tell us how it started. You started off as a navigator, not as a driver.
Correct. I started off as a co-driver. I knew I wanted to drive when I did a Race of Champions. I built a GC8 And that time we were racing side by side with Ben Mushemi and in Jamhuri. So, and I kind of like forced him or made him roll. And he approached me and he's like, you know what? You're a very good driver. Maybe you should take driving seriously. It could take you far. So from there, I was like, I have the itch. And I kept on telling Arthur, as soon as we get another car, I'm going to leave his seat. He needs to get a different co-driver and then transition into driving.
What was your experience? The first time you sat with Arthur in a rally.
Right.
Tell us that story, how it went, the first rally in full, because it's...
Oh my God, it was phenomenal. First of all, the butterflies that we had, we just wanted to bring the car home. We were not trying to do anything extra. We had no know-how. I remember it was Sunday morning in Rongai, and our windshield had fogged up, so we didn't know how to clean it. Like, we were still rookies, so we're buckled in. We're struggling to clean it up on the transport section all the way to at the river. And we just kept on praying, let us finish this rally, let us finish this rally. And the Lord opened the heavens, it rained. So it became even more treacherous for us. So we're like, okay, you know what, let's just take it easy. Went out there, came back for service, and it was, you know, everybody was surprised that we made it till service. So we're like, let's just take it easy and bring the car home. But it was a phenomenal time. Like, it was great.
At that point, the entries in Kenyan rallying could hit 50, 60. Absolutely. It was normal to have close to 70 entries for a rally. So what was it like for you as rookies, and you've got to start at the tail?
It was a learning experience. You know, we used to hear people say the lead car or the car that's, you know, starting, people like don't want to start. Like, the top drivers never want to be leaving out first because they copy the lines. So I didn't know that. So I was like, lines, what do you mean they're copying the lines? So come to find out that it was an advantage of us starting at the back because we could see the tracks where people have gone off, you know, and stuff like that, yeah.
And over that season, how did it turn out for you and the late Arthur?
It turned out pretty great. The only thing that we went through that was difficult was sponsorship then, and it's still hard right now. His father was a tremendous help in our motorsport because he gave a lot to us to do it, and his family, so, and friends, of course. So it was just the challenge. The main challenge was sponsorship. So we could start and not finish, or have one or two or not finish, you know. Our itch was going out there, but maybe this rally we don't have money for tires. Yeah.
And I think that one of the most challenging events for you was the Guru Nanak. What was it like for you? Because I think everyone said this is basically a dry run for a rhino charge.
Right. I mean, it was challenging because, first, because of money and the time. I normally say, it's usually normally in motorsports and maybe most other things, it's 50% talent, 50% preparation. And we had no preparation and the know-how then. You know, we were still rookies, we were still green. So just those are learning experiences that I learned, you know, being in tough situations like that. We didn't finish that Guru Nanak rally, but fortunately, I don't know.
Moving on for you.
Right.
Moving from the co-driver seats,
right,
moving to the driver seats.
Right.
What was that different experience from where you're giving the notes to where you now have got to listen to the notes?
Right. So I ended up getting a go-kart in the States. And I started learning lines. I kept on practicing. I was out there maybe 4 times a week for like 3 hours. And then I got a shifter kart that's way faster. And then that now gave me experience to know where to put the car, how to late brake and all of that. And then I moved on to like a side-by-side kind of race type of thing on a circuit where now I have to listen and now transition the notes to what I put into the car.
Side-by-side racing, was this rallycross or was it?
That's rallycross.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely, rallycross.
So tell us how you move from the karts to rallycross, because I know rallycross means you move from dirt to tarmac, back to dirt,
right,
back
right,
to tarmac.
Right. It's basically the best way of getting into rally, because it teaches you the discipline of different terrains and knowing how to listen and putting in whatever your co-driver is telling you into like real life action. So it's an experience you get from that, because of tarmac dirt is way better if you're transitioning into rally. So it felt great for that, knowing that I could transition with that, because of the karting helped me with the tarmac also. And I'd done a little bit of dirt racing in Kenya also.
And Kenya is basically that racing.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
In any, or think of autocross, motocross.
Even on the main roads.
No, that's going to change. You're going to have you're going to have some fans, and also you're going to have some haters because of saying that simply. So the rallycross scene in the US is big because of its nature.
Right.
It's a closed circuit, attracts spectators, and it's short,
and then super cheap, super cheap, and it's not so strict like we have it over here. It's basically like an advanced autocross, but they even have a class where you can bring your standard car, no cage, standard tires, just normal car, just a helmet, overall, and you drive.
How did that, work for you? So, because it would ideally give you time to work, say, over 1 or 2 years on a proper rally car.
Right. So initially, when I got to the States, as soon as I got to the States, I said I need to look for an Evo, because that Evos were like just crashing Subarus a lot. So I got an Evo, and as I started building it slowly, I got into a wreck. So unfortunately, I had to stall. And then now look for more money, hustle. And then got a car, and then started fixing it slowly, while I'm doing now the I'm sorry, I got a brain spot.
The rallycross.
The rallycross, absolutely. So with that, you don't have to use a race car. You could just use your normal car. So that I built into slowly. Then I ended up getting enough money and fans to buy a car and now start building it.
What's the process? How different is the US scene from the Kenyan scene? In Kenya, the standards required for rally cars, at times you hear the drivers say they're looking for European standards. How different is it from Kenya?
It's not so different. It's actually even more strict out there, because they don't really go with the FIA rules. They have their other rules. I don't know if you've noticed, in America they have their own that governs motorsports. So they usually try and outshine FIA. So their rules are way harsher than that. So you have to put in a lot of work, a lot of time. Before you get done building a car, chief scrutineer has to give a sign off on your logbook that it's a proper rally car before you say I'm ready to go out on the stages.
We know that, for example, if you're going to use a Subaru, think of M14 or N16 in Kenya. The homologation is going to end very soon. You can't enter events like the Safari or the Equator Rally, which you may enter, but the classification will be lower. How do they classify the cars in the United States?
Just the same way as FIA. There's a Group N, there's Super Production, and it's just the same way. The classification is the same way with the homologation. Yeah.
So tell us now about the car that you used to get into rallying proper.
So I have an N14 that's been built by a very good friend of mine, Texas Dave. He owned Rally Ready Academy in Texas. And we've put in hours and hours and hours of, probably over 2,000 hours of just fixing it and making it tip-top to be able to compete with the super production cars before I jump over to an R5. Yeah.
The process is, now with this car, is at the end of it all, you've got to do the testing and now get into an event. What was it for you when you got to finally put it on the road and compete in it?
It was a good thing and a bad thing.
Start with the good.
The good thing about it, it was like an awesome experience. As soon as my son saw it, like he was so excited. I have a 2-year-old who's crazy about cars and rides motorbikes, believe it or not.
At the age of 2?
At the age of 2.
I think I was just running around, breaking everything that came my way.
Yeah.
Or getting broken by anything I got into.
Yeah, so it was just like, I can't even explain the amount of joy that I had and the support with my family and friends. It was just amazing, amazing.
Now, you also meant something that you mentioned to me. You've got a huge number of Kenyans working with you.
Absolutely.
Tell us about, the whole team, your navigator, his experiences, and also your service team.
So I'll actually start with my sponsors. A big shout out to Innovative Toll. Innovative Toll is owned by a Kenyan who's out there in the diaspora, who's supporting motorsports. I'm really grateful for them. My crew, my service crew, I have a couple of mechanics who work out. Their day jobs are mechanics, but of course over the weekend we're going to go down to the tracks and go with them. My co-driver is Alan Wamunga. He's a good friend of mine. He used to be a DJ and he used to ride motorbikes. So that's the only guy that I could go to, that I could think of, that has that adrenaline itch. Because if he rides super bikes in the canyons, he's not going to be scared when we're like flat out at 140, 150, 180. So
that's kph.
No, miles per hour.
180 miles per hour.
Yes, 140 miles per hour. Yeah.
Well, trying to convert that very quickly, that's close to 200, that's past 200 kph.
Yes. And that it feels way faster on dirt. So if it's off-road, it feels like you're moving at 300 kph.
I try and imagine that, because in this country we are restricted to 110,
right.
And I think at the safari the top speed I saw was 192.
Right.
And how does the US circuit work when it comes to speed limits on some of the stages that are there?
It's restricted, but the good thing about it, like, there are stages that are like so the gravel is so smooth it almost feels like tarmac. So you're going to just keep on gaining speed, and before you know it, you look down, you look up, you look down, you don't want to look down anymore. Look how fast you're going. Yeah.
And for you as a driver, there is one man I mentioned, Azar Anwar.
Yes.
How did he come to you? Because they call him Mzee wa Kazi. He's rallied for now 40 years.
Yes.
Now doing the classics.
Yeah, absolutely.
How does his involvement in your career count?
Same as Abdul Sidi. We were really nagging kids then. We were young, I can say that. So we found out where Azar Anwar's workshop was. So our mission was, we start with Azar, we go to Sidi. If Sidi's not there, go to Azar. And we just literally hang out around the workshop. And Azar would be like, because he knows us, he'd be like, pick something, do this, do. So we'd just, try and help. And then after a while, Arthur's dad took interest and was like, you guys go there a lot. Maybe you guys need to get a workshop. You should learn something from him. So they had a discussion, and he's like, no, Mzee, it's okay, I'll teach them. And then one day he's like, this weekend, I'm gonna take out a rally car and we're gonna go to Athi River and we're going to practice. And we stayed there for hours and hours. I can remember that day, hours. It was so long. Sunday, we went back out, hours and hours, and then finally came back, and we had a good meal with his family, fantastic people, and he just gave us advice on how rallying is. Yeah.
What was it like working with him? Because at times people think Azar is a conservative driver, but if you sit with him, is when you realize he can actually pull some moves left and right.
Believe you me, I did not know how quick that man could be until I sat in a car with him. You underestimate him because you see, Azar Anwar, Mzee wa Kazi, he has white hair. To me, he's one of the most fastest drivers. He just has not gotten the right machine. If he gets an R5, guaranteed, that's it.
Well, young drivers better be warned, because if Azar Anwar is going to get involved in this, in rallying with an R5, as Brian says, then we're going to be in for a surprise. And also, just coming to think of it, also Carl Tundo, he said, let me just take off the seat and do some other events. So that means for the young drivers, the opportunities are there. Now, you've started driving in the US,
right,
and with this, where you started off in Texas.
Right.
Now, the US is vast.
Right.
If I was to use an example of the NBA, where you've got the various divisions, you've got the Pacific, the Midwest.
That's right.
You've got the Southeast, you've got the West, they'll call it the Northeast,
right,
the Central Division.
Right.
How then is the US circuit set up for the expansive country?
It's set up all over the place. It's the only hard thing about the US is the logistics, because it's far. It's far. Like, I'm in Texas, and the next rally that we're doing is just going to be in March the 18th, 19th, which is called the 100 Acre Woods in Missouri, Salem, Missouri. That's like about maybe 9-10 hour drive from Texas. Then I'll do that, come back, and then the next one is going to be maybe in Ohio. That's like another 15-16 hour drive. So the only thing that's usually hard in the States is the logistics. Getting your service crew, getting your service truck, getting your car, getting your recce car. So most of the times we actually rent cars. We fly there, get a rental car, make it our recce car, make sure it's good, then give it back. Yeah.
So, and overall, the circuit, how is it split? For example, there's Ngengi Kamau.
Yes.
He rallies in the West.
Yes, Mashariki Motorsports.
Yes.
Yes.
So how then is that country divided?
So it's divided in 3.
Don't worry about the feedback, it's going to be.
Okay. So it's divided in 3, and there's West, there's Central, and there's East, right? So there's the normal calendar, then there's the regional, and then that's how they do it. So let's say, like, for instance, if we have a rally in Kenya, right?
Yes.
And we have, we split it into 3. There's the Mombasa guys, there's the Kisumu guys, and then there's the Central guys, right? So there's the people who are going to be running the KNRC for the whole country, and then they'll have the regions like that. So there's also like podiums of regions. So regional gets podium also. There's in that category, maybe in Kisumu category, they have 1, 2, 3 in that area. Yeah.
And when it comes now to how competitive it is, the names that would actually, the only one name that would come for me naturally is Travis Pastrana.
Yeah.
I think we are expecting him for the Classic this year. Rather Ken Block.
Ken Block.
Ken Block is coming.
Yeah.
Pastrana's been here before.
Yes.
Travis Pastrana's been here before, drove the same car as Patrick in Giro. That was, I think, almost 10 years ago.
Right.
How competitive are the people out there? Because what we get from the US is this, is their stadium racing.
Right.
Indy or these other NASCAR.
Right.
What about rally proper?
Man, it's super competitive. There's one of my favorite drivers is David Higgins. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's a beast. He used to drive for Subaru Team USA. I think he's retired now, or he got out. It's very competitive. There's big names, David Higgins. There's Ken Block. There's, of course, Travis Pastrana. There's people from Canada also come down. So that's how regional it is. So there's the people who are on the south side of Canada, they cross over. There's people from Canada also that come down that are very competitive. Young drivers that are competitive. There's a guy called Seminak, who's a X Games BMX rider. Yeah.
That is extreme sport and high adrenaline sport.
Right.
And then for you want to get into the national circuit.
Right.
What's the requirement, and how much of your time would it take? Because if you're mentioning, you just mentioned 2 states, which are basically 1 day's travel from your base.
Right.
What does it require of you when it comes to the planning, getting your car ready, and having it inspected, doing the recce, do the rally proper, and get back to Texas to live your life? So
we've come up with a system now. In order for that to happen, I have to piggyback on a big team. So like Texas Dave, Rally Ready, has a team. Right now they're going under Black Rifle Coffee Company That's the main sponsor. I know if you look at Travis Pastrana right now, he moved from Red Bull to Black Rifle.
Yes.
So I piggyback on them because they have a bigger team and they have bigger trucks and all of that. So they're the ones who are going to like take my car there, you know, get it ready for me. So I just have to show up with my guys, my workshop guys, my crew, and that's it.
On the recce regulations,
right?
What is it that you've got to go through, or some of the circuits that you've seen that would interest you? In Kenya, they say Sleeping Warrior is always an interesting stage. If you've got to do, I'm trying to think of, one at Athi River, Stony Athi, which can be a 9-kilometer straight.
Right.
That's also interesting.
Right.
Which are the places you really love rallying at?
In Kenya?
In the States.
100 Acre Woods. 100 Acre Woods in Missouri. Just give it if you just type it in on YouTube or whatever, you'll see like it's so day one is so fast, so fast, and they have something they call a kettle guard gate with a jump. It's it's the most popular place there because cars come hitting around 110, 130 miles per hour with jumping over that. It's insane.
And when it comes now to getting to get the points at the national level, who do you have to beat in your class, event in, event out?
Well, that's a tough one. I have to beat my teacher, Texas Dave, because he's pretty fast, and we're in the same class. He just finished in his last race. I think he finished 3rd overall, 1st in class. So yeah, he's pretty fast.
The other question people ask is, where are the American drivers when it comes to rallying, say in Europe, or coming to an event like the Safari?
So rallying also in America is not so big because of the fact that the country is so big. So there's people who are NASCAR fans, there's people who are Indy fans, there's people who are, just circuit fans. So it's a growing sport now, believe you me. It's not that, it's big, but it's not as big as Europe, So we have people who, like I said, people who cross over from Canada too, who also make it big, yeah.
And for you, one of the events that you'd like to participate in is a Safari Rally.
Yes.
And that is at WRC level, and probably the Equator Rally.
Right.
What's the experiences and the stories you've received from the people who work here for that event and from even watching it?
I have been told just not to compete with everybody else, just compete with myself.
Well, okay, expound on that.
Do not listen or look at whatever other times people are making. Just drive at your normal, comfortable pace and try and beat your pace as you go. And that's it. Don't look at the Tundos, don't look at Ian, don't look at the Baldiv
or Eric Bengi.
Eric Bengi, exactly. And what's it, the right guy, the Menengai guys.
Onkarai.
Onkarai. Don't look at them. Just focus on your speed, your times, and then your pace. That's it.
The Safari was a big learning lesson for Kenyan drivers when it came to the preparation of the cars.
Right.
Having been working with Texas, preparing your cars and coming to bring it here.
Right.
What would be the lessons that you'd give to the Kenyan drivers who are here, and what knowledge would you pass on to them, especially when it comes to the safety equipment, and also getting that car tuned and the suspensions?
So I'll start with this. I don't know whether when I left Kenya, we used to do recce the wrong way. I'll start with that. Now, the biggest secret is when you're going on recce, you make sure you have your comms, your camera, and you have to mark your steering wheel. That way, when you go for one recce lap, you have all recorded. So once you're done recceing, you and your navigator or your driver go sit down and watch and watch and watch and watch.
That is number one.
That's number one.
All right.
That's what world-class rally drivers do, and also in the United States. You have to have your comms, like, you know,
The intercom. Yes.
in your recce car. You have to have your GoPro, and you have to mark your steering wheel.
Explain to us about marking the steering wheel.
So normally the WRC or World Rally drivers use the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, left 1, left 2, left 3, left 4, left 5, left 6.
Aha.
Right? So on the left side, you just mark it. You know, 6 is almost, you know, towards like 12 o'clock. So, you know, it's a fast corner. And vice versa on this side. So you need to put tape, like blue tape or masking tape, and mark it. So when the co-driver says left 3, you just move the steering and you mark it. And you mark it. And with that, with a GoPro, and you go keep on watching, you can also get better and say, you know what, that left 3, I think I can make it a left 4.
And that means it's slower and safer.
That means it's faster.
It's faster.
Right.
And because I remember, what's his name? Karam Patel says that they watched and changed his notes
Right.
from something that's faster to one that's slower.
Right.
And he ended up crashing.
Right.
So using that system, if you were to translate it to what you would normally use in Kenya,
Right.
From 1 right to 3, the 1 right would be?
1 right is turn, maybe a hairpin right.
Close to a U-turn.
Right.
2 right?
It's going to be hard right.
So apologies, which means the 1 right is a soft one. It's just where, if given a choice, you would go straight.
No, 1 right is like a hairpin.
A hairpin.
That's all the way, like all the way around.
That means your hands are crossed.
Yeah. You shouldn't interlock your hands, but that means like you've pulled your handbrake, you're almost making a hairpin, a U-turn.
And that means the 6 is a soft one.
The 6 is the fast one now. That 6 is like almost straight. Yeah.
Now, from recce, you've done that.
Right.
The next one you change when getting ready for a rally of that magnitude. After recce, car preparation. Let's talk about the safety equipment.
Safety equipment. I'd like to tell Kenyans this, even if your car is old, you know, people have the notion of, oh, my car is no longer homologated, so I don't need to focus on my belts. I don't need to focus on my seat. I don't need to focus on my fire extinguishers. That is very wrong. Your car can be past homologation, but race ready, it's perfect. So you need to have at least 2 years. Don't stay with your belts for more than 2 years. The expiry date says 3 or 4. But sometimes when you have meat in your fridge, do you really wait till the last days to eat it?
No.
You know, you'd look at it and you'd be like, whatever, right? So don't get to the days of the expiry date of your seats, of your belts, your fire extinguishers. People don't use fire suppressions over here. That's what we need. That really, really helps. You know, you might be in a situation where a scrutineer would be like, your car is not homologated, but he'll be caught in a bind. He'll be like, your car is so well prepared, I don't know how to say no to you. And they might have a talk with the officials and put you in a class.
Aha. Like what happened with the safari where
Exactly.
we got a KNRC 4.
Exactly.
Just out of that.
Exactly.
Roll cages and the protective cushion
The foam,
around it,
yeah.
the foam. How do you then prepare that correctly?
Correctly is a lot of research. Anywhere, like I was taught, anywhere the helmet could hit on a roll should be padded, period. Anywhere the roll cage could collapse and hit your helmet should be padded. So why not just do it? Pad it all over, yeah.
The other one is the helmet that would be accepted. Talk about that, because probably you don't have to buy one that's probably used by Otanak or Sebastian Ogier,
Right.
but have one that would meet the same safety standards,
Right.
and also help you with communication with your co-driver.
Right. To me, my preference is Stilo. If you go Stilo, you'll never go wrong. They're cheaper helmets. If you go on Amazon, you'll get a rally helmet for like maybe $300-400. But you also have to remember, cheap is expensive. So if you go the cheaper route, it'll cost you at the end of the day. So you'd rather invest in yourself and go expensive, and you have no worries after that.
What's the lifespan of a good rally helmet? Because all these things have,
They do. It depends on how much you rally, because of the sweat on the foam. I'd give it about maybe 2 years also, 2 to 3 years also.
The gear is a fire suit,
Right?
And the in weather you're going to have it.
Yes.
Tell us about how you make sure that that's in the right condition, because we had cases of some competitors being told you need to change this if you're going to compete at this level.
Yeah, there's that. Now I'm going to start with the protection, the innerwear. I have done a lot of research on that, and this is another secret to drivers in Kenya. If they can go to Instagram or online and look for a system called a chill out system. Right? So the chill out system is like a cool suit. That's gonna reduce your increase your time by about 3 or 4 seconds because you're cooler. On every stage. You're not. I know we see like Boldy or Tundo when they get out, they're drenching in sweat. With the chill out system, none.
And the same thing applies for the...
No, not the balaclava.
No,
just the core. So if your core is cool, your whole body is cool.
Well, somebody told me that we lose about 55% of our heat, through the head. That's why our moms always had our heads covered.
With the boshoris.
With the boshoris, yes. With those hats, I mean, it's a brilliant idea. They wouldn't know the science,
right?
But they know once your head is covered, then it's safe. And what about the overall? Just to give it a simple...
Overall, lifespan, 2 years. That's it.
And the moment the thread runs, change it.
That's it. And don't do it the wrong way and say, okay, I got a Sparko overall or OMP overall, and I have, let's say, KBC or KCB or Coca-Cola as a sponsor, and then you go to a guy down the street to embroider for you over your overall. That's a hazard because they use actual fire retardant thread also on it. So if you see somebody with a patch on his, that's no-go.
And that means no glue to...
no glue to... If you're getting it custom-made, get it custom-made from the company.
For safety reasons.
For safety reasons. You may think you're saving money or you're adding value to like your sponsors. You'd rather have your overall plain and put the sponsors on the car, or just get a full custom suit.
And in the next 2 years, we've seen the change of classifications for rally cars. Rally 1 cars after the Monte Carlo over the weekend.
Right.
Everyone's been watching what's going to happen over this season. It's new for everyone at the very, very top.
Right.
Electric motors, they're hybrid now. There's Rally 2, which is going to be the second, and then moving down all the way to where you can have, cost control cars. What are the opportunities for those who'd like to get into motorsport in the different classes? Because I know Rally 1, Rally 2 out. For budget races, where would they look at?
To be honest with that, I'm usually torn in the middle with that. I'm not for the progression of the way the rally is going. Because it's unattainable now. You can't get it now. Now, for instance, if I want an R5, I'm looking into getting one. I'm in talks with a guy in Poland, but it's so expensive.
Oh, that would afford.
Exactly. So, but what about you in Kenya, who wants to start rallying, who has the talent, but you can't afford it? That just goes like that. Then, with these cars that we're seeing right now over the weekend, when are we ever going to get to that level? When are we going to see them on our roads on our KNRC event?
Okay, that will be 10 years from now, probably.
And where are they going to be? That's the thing.
So 2 years, over the next 2 years, for anyone who's into rallying, what's the straight advice you give them? Getting the right car, the right preparation, such that they can compete and be consistent. How would I put it? Uganda has more activity than Kenya,
right?
But they don't have the kind of cars that we have.
Right. I'll say this. I've learned this from Dave. He says, "Kiss keep it simple, stupid. That's it. Just don't overdo it. Get a simple car and just make it the proper way. You don't need a Subaru, you don't need a Evo, you don't need like a Ford. Whatever car you get, believe it or not, in the States there's people who rally with pickups. There's a Chevy, one of these small cars, like the way the Ubers are all over the place, that's been transformed, that has a V8 in it. So just keep it simple, stupid. Just do it the right way. So long as your safety is okay, that's fine.
We know somebody who does that. He goes by the name of Ian Duncan, and he always picks up his pickups and beats people in the rallies.
Absolutely.
A final one for you, Brian, as we move on to another fast sport, athletics. Your interest in coming to Kenya, given the opportunities, which events would you come in? We know we've got the ARC, that's the Equator Rally.
Right.
That's going to run about 2 months before the safari in June. Tell us about, where your interest would be.
My interest would be, if I could afford it, would be the Nakuru Rally. I'd like to do that in honor of Arthur Kinyanjui, because he's from Nakuru.
Yes.
The safari, of course, and now probably in preparations for the next classic. I'd like to put that under my belt also, just to have it there. If I have a WRC event and one classic, I think at my age, I'm okay with that.
Oh yeah, by the way, now that you mentioned about the classic cars, how different is it driving these modern contraptions against the almost basic to the core classic cars?
I've not gotten an opportunity to drive a classic car, I'm not going to lie to you, but I've seen them in action. The only downside about classic cars is getting the spares. If you're going to make it competitive, maybe I think it's going to be good. I think a classic car is better than the modern cars, because it's more driver, feeling than these others. There's no power steering,
You're the power steering.
Yeah, I'm the power steering, the gear, it's amazing, because I watch a lot of videos about Shaka Mehta and back in the day, 80s rallies, and those are like, I can watch that for days on end. Yeah.
All right, Brian, eventually for you, based in the States, what's your outlook overall? Where would you want to be over the next 2-3 years in the States rallying scene? And also, entice Ngengi now to just stick to the West Coast.
Yes. I'd like to have a couple of rallies under my belt with at least podium finishes. Also, I want to focus a lot on my son, who's a great inspiration to me. Like, he's super smart. I'd like to advance his motorsports, give him what I didn't get. Being in the States is a great advantage, because motorsports is like broad. So I want to also focus on giving him what he needs for his motorsports. Of course, it's going to have to be by choice, and he's going to do motocross or cars, but right now he's doing bikes. So after that, maybe we might have a motocross champion who's in America also.
What, when you see him ride a powered motorcycle at 2, doing the bikes at 2,
right.
what is it that you notice that, makes you laugh and makes you wonder, okay, you young man, keep doing this, or I will now tell you this is how it's supposed to be.
Right. It's just an amazing feeling, because I thought it's so hard to make that happen. Believe it or not, he's not like a special kid, like he's super genius. It's just a preparation. There's a bike called a balance bike that people don't know about. It's just a balance bike. It's a bike that doesn't have the 3 wheels on the side, at the back, and no pedals. So when kids start walking, they use it to walk. It's a balance bike. So they just keep on like kicking themselves. He got on the bike, he's already balancing. I just told him gas, put his feet up, and he went. Yeah.
Now, you're telling us about things that, everyone's wondering, okay, a balance bike, no pedals, just roll, and suddenly he's just floating down the street.
Right.
Or
and they're made
somewhere.
for 1 and above. a lot of people do. These are things that, I saw with this Wazungus. I was like, what is that? So my neighbor was like, it's called a balance bike. So it transitions them not to rely on the tires on the side, so that once he gets a normal bike or a bicycle, he's just going to like pick it up without you being behind him and chasing him in the estate. Nope.
Well, that is what we do, and you know what we do? We just let them ride.
Fall.
No, not fall. He's riding, yeah. Release him. He's got the balance. Get rid of the wheels. Suddenly they're riding, and they think you're behind, and you just let go. And when they turn back,
they're like,
"What happened?" So thank you. Now we know about something else. Learning about little things here and there. I think I even know how to make a balance bike. Break the pedals, throw away the wheels,
yeah,
and you have it.
You have it.
Brian Bovey, thank you very much for giving us your time this morning. Have a safe travel back to the US.
Thank you.
Ngengi, Mashariki Motorsport.
Yeah.
Well, tell him we wish him all the best out there in the West Coast. He's made his name, his videos, times travel all around.
Right.
And for you, all the best. Hope to see you.
Thank you.
In April for the Equator Rally, hopefully.
Safari.
In June for the Safari.
Yes.
For those two events, the Equator is huge. It's an African Rally Championship.
Right.
It's a test event for the Safari.
Right.
Hope to see you then.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Brian Bovey, US-based rally driver, started rallying here in Kenya, autocross, worked together with the late Arthur Kinyanjui. Arthur Kinyanjui was nicknamed AK-47 in the rallying circles, child of Nakuru, and he hopes to do the Nakuru rally, plus get the podiums in the US and come back later. Next, we keep it with the speeds. Over the weekend, we had the National Cross Country Championships. Helen Obiri was not in Eldoret. She was in Dundonald in Ireland, and she did win her race convincingly. What were the reactions from the people who are in the coaching business, and especially about that course that had a 5-meter mud pit that was treacherous for every athlete? They left that, they got onto the course clean, they left all muddy. One man was there, Stephen Mwaniki, is our regular athletics analyst, and he's going to break it down for us. And from what he saw, plus the national weekend meetings are back, the first and the second in Nairobi and Kisumu coming up, the Discover Cross Country Classic, plus the Agnes Tirop Classic, and much more around the sport coming up in the next 3 minutes.
Tusirudi nyuma kwa mipaka na nchi kufungwa. Tusirudi kwa biashara na shule kufungwa. Kwa kutoweza kukutana. Kwa kutengana na tuwapendao. Tusirudi nyuma.
Na kuhitaji unikinge, pata chanjo.
Ili tuendelee na maisha vizuri.
Na kuhitaji unikinge, pata chanjo.
Na kuhitaji unikinge, pata chanjo.
Na kuhitaji unikinge,
pata chanjo.
Na kuhitaji unikinge, pata chanjo.
Ili tuendeleze maisha bora kwa ajili ya wapendao, nchi yetu na usoni wetu. Kwa ajili yetu sisi sote. Pata chanjo. Kaa chonjo. Kuhakikisha nchi yetu na uchumi wetu umestawi katika uwazi. Tusirudi nyuma.
We also have the geothermal potential in Kenya. We have that potential. Already have enough steam for that particular power plant.
The process proudly brought to you by Buchan Furnitures Limited. Local manufacturers of quality office furniture and dealers in quality office equipment like fireproof safes and cabinets. For orders, visit our showroom at Uniafric House, Koinange Lane off Koinange Street.
We'll share the same room, yeah. But job provide a bread. Is this love? Is this love? For I was a soul who was lost, and my life was in dismay. For among evil forces in which I played, go to the people on your way up the ladder, 'cause you meet them on your way down. Cross the way. I'm losing all control. Girl, I can't fight this feeling. It feels so right. Champagne and candlelight. I feel good when you're wrapped up in my arms, dancing to a reggae song. Feel good, feel good.
Welcome back to Sports Check. This Monday morning on KBC Channel 1, my name is Daniel Wahome, and on the bottom right of your screen, we've got our sign language interpreter, Lensa Odingo. She's going to be with us through the top of the hour and into the next. Now, we've had one conversation about motorsport, and we stay with speed. Then before we get into deeper details, speaking about the National Cross Country Championships, let's talk about two persons who passed on last week. Going into the National Cross Country Championships, there was the announcement that the man who's called the father of Kenyan athletics, John Velzian, had passed away at the age of 93. An inspiration for many people. Came in as a teacher, was in this country for 60 years. That's how long he was here. His impact was felt. He was a coach, for the pioneering athletes who were running in the 60s, 64. By the time he groomed, took up the late Charles Mukora, a former president of the National Olympic Committee, and also the coach of the 68 team. Everyone had felt his impact, became the regional development director for the IAAF. He has been a cause measurer. His impact has been felt, and you could hear it from the senior athletes. First of all, somebody who's been through that IAAF Regional Development Center is with us today. Stephen Waniki is an athletics coach, and over the years, having had conversations with the late John Velzian, what was the impact you've seen from people he has worked with, and later, people he groomed through the years?
It's unfortunate that John Velzian passed away at this time when we still need him, though he was an old man. But he had an impact in the athletics fraternity, because some of us went through the Regional Development Center coaching course. By that time, he was a regional director, and he was so passionate about imparting the skills and knowledge for the Kenyans, especially the technical officials and also the coaches. And that is why you see we have a successful Kenyan team, because most of them, name anybody who is training Kenyans, they have gone through the RDC, and that is a credit to him, because he laid the foundation, and he was able to take most of us through the courses that were programmed by the IAAF. Yeah,
I know that is one of the persons that we lost. Then the silver medalist in the 3,000 meter steeplechase at the 1968 Olympic Games, Ben Kogo, also passed away. That's the news we got. Anybody who was in Eldoret on Saturday morning got the news, and everyone was taken aback. When Matthew Birir mentioned it to me, I told him, "What do you mean?" Just after Velzian, he said, "Yeah, mzee ametuacha." Ben Kogo, what was his legacy? Before Dr. Kipchoge Keino now started the middle collect, because Kenya won a gold and a silver at the 68 Games, and in 1972 we had Kipchoge Keino winning, and of the last 13 gold medals, 10 have been won by Kenyans.
Yeah, Ben Kogo also he's in the annals of history of Kenya, because Ben Kogo and Amos Biwott, They are the first guys who brought the medal back home, the gold medal and the silver medal. And we started the long tradition of winning the steeplechase. And it's a big loss for the country and also for the athletics fraternity. These are the pioneers. These are the people who started the long journey whereby we started winning and showing Kenyans that we can do it. And steeplechase belonged to us until the Olympics, whereby we lost it. It's unfortunate, but losing to these great men, Ben Kogo and John Valzian, is sad in the athletics fraternity. It's a sad story for us.
All right. So Coach Stephen Mwaniki, he is there with us. And then we have got one news item I've got to mention. Yesterday, former Vice President Musalia Mudavadi, he made the announcement that he's going to run for the presidency. And in his remarks, he made some comments, and it was about, the labor movement in Kenya, which he simply said was in ICU. We shall be moving over to get that as Kotu responds to Musalia Mudavadi's comments about the labor union in Kenya. That announcement is going to be made at the Marble Arch Hotel. We shall be joining our team once they're ready. Now, let's get back to a conversation about athletics. Over the weekend, one person, actually, let's mention 3 people. We really wanted to see in Eldoret, one out there. We know Jeffrey Kamworor is preparing for the Agnes Tirop Classic. He was watching what was going on, but also Kibiwot Kandie. He is a man who took away the title from the national title from Jeffrey Kamworor, shocked him here at Ngong in very long grass and wet conditions. The other one was Helen Obiri. Helen Obiri goes on, easily wins the Kenya Defence Forces Championships, but was in Ireland, and people were asking, where is Obiri? Can it have an impact at the senior women's level? How would you describe, the competition that was there without Helen, who won her race in Dundonald in Ireland yesterday?
Yeah, that was with Helen, the absence of Helen, she's a world cross country champion, gold medalist. It wasn't felt so much because Joyce Chepkemoi from the Kenya Defence Forces did something that nobody expected, and it was a good show for the KDF. But I think with Helen in that slope, maybe the KDF would have won the whole thing. But now, that is how things happen sometimes. And now Helen is trying to transgress to other events like the marathon, and she needs to put more work doing other things. But she has done a lot for the country, and we can't blame her for not coming for the national cross country.
Well, we hope to see her at the Agnes Tirop Classic. But before we do that, we'll be getting the pictures. Brian, you can drop for me the pictures of that senior women's 10-kilometer race, and also the reaction of the race winner, Joyce Chepkemoi. The track the course that was set up at the Lobo village in Uasin Gishu County, if you look at it from a bird's eye view, it's flat, basically a flat course. But the obstacles that were put, when you went and took a look at the course, what was your first impression of it?
That is one of the toughest courses I've ever seen in the cross-country circuit. And it really made this event to be a national event, and through that course we were able to see champions being destroyed on that tough course. It was a good course for our athletes, and also good stamina sapping and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get back to that, but right now let's go over to the Marble Arch Hotel in Nairobi, where Kotu is responding to Musalia Mudavadi, who actually in his remarks yesterday said that the labor union in Kenya was not in a good state. And speaking now is Benson Okwaro, the Secretary General of the Communication Workers Union.
Hawana hiyo kwa wakati huu, wafuate ile azimio ambao ilizinduliwa Kakamega Buhungu tu, na labda kwa vile yeye bado ni kijana kidogo anaweza kupatia nafasi nyingine baada ya baba kutoka. Kwa sasa sidhani sana kama Mheshimiwa Ruto atamwachia nafasi, lakini kama atawachia yeye, basi ni bahati mzuri. Kitu kingine ambao nataka kuongeza ni kwamba hatungetaka watu wa viongozi wa vyama ama wale ambao wanatarajia kupata uongozi katika nchi watumie trade union movement, because kazi ambayo trade union movement imefanya katika nchi hii inajulikana. Sisi tulipigania ukombozi ya nchi hii wakati wa beberu, pia wakati wa agenda 2 sisi pia tulifanya kazi muhimu sana wakati nchi hii ilikuwa karibu kwenda mbaya sana. Tulitumia pesa zetu, tulitembea katika nchi yote, tukaenda Coast Province, tukaenda West kujaribu kutuliza nchi, na tulifanya hivyo. Pia hata kwa sasa wakati tulikuwa na wizi katika NHIF, wizi katika NSSF, ile role ambayo tumefanya kama KOTU inajulikana wazi. Kama ingekuwa KOTU ikiongozwa na Dr. Francis Atwoli, pesa za NSSF zilikuwa zimekwisha yote. Zile maplots ambazo ziko hapa, iko karibu GPO hapa, zote zingekuwa zimeenda, lakini tumeshikilia mpaka wa sasa. So kazi yetu ambayo inajulikana. Kwa hivyo Musalia Mudavadi kuja kutuambia kwamba akija kuchukua serikali then atadeal na labor movement in this country, wacha yeye ajaribu. Tuko tayari. Inabaki miezi 6-7 tu, alafu tupate the new president of this country. Ikiwa atakuwa yeye, tuko pamoja na yeye, we shall deal with him. Hawezi, manake KOTU sio department ya serikali, KOTU sio department ya ministry yoyote, KOTU sio government parastatal. KOTU ni movement ambao imetambuliwa locally hapa katika Kenya, katika Afrika nzima na katika ulimwengu yote tumetambuliwa, na yeye ajaribu, na atajua kwamba sisi ni wazito sana. Hatuwezi, sio Musalia Mudavadi, labda kuna mwingine atakuja atatuweza. Sio, ni safi.
Sawa. Asante sana.
Asante sana. Good. Sasa nafikiri kuna some papers tulikuwa
The Secretary General of KOTU and also the Kenya Communication Workers Union Secretary General Benson Okwaro addressing the media in Nairobi, and this was in response to Musalia Mudavadi, who was making his remarks yesterday at the Bomas of Kenya at the Amani National Congress, National Delegates Conference, where amongst the things he mentioned was about the labor movement in Kenya having no presence felt, where he said that they've let down the employees who they say they represent. And part of Mr. Okwaro's remarks were that the labor unions are independent bodies and they will work with the president who's coming in, wherever he's there, and they're ready to present the grievances of the workers. We shall have that story being taken care of by our news team, and you can watch it at 1 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 once you get the lunchtime news. There has been a change at the sign language interpreters booth. Joining us now is Ann Wangeshi. We continue with our sporting conversation, and we were talking about the National Cross Country Championships. Took place at the Lobo Village in Eldoret. And Coach Mwaniki, you were telling us about, how treacherous that course could be, because from the bird's eye view, it looks flat. But once you get onto it, with the bends, which are not, actually, they were not crazy sharp, if you take a look at them, but what was the reaction to athletes and their coaches overall from the little conversations that you are having?
Yeah, everybody came out, the athletes and even the coaches commended the guys who, especially the central lift, those who did the job, because it was done perfectly well and the course was very tough. It was there to test the stamina, the endurance, and also the speed of the athletes. And cross country is a very important component for athletes who are preparing for middle and long distance, and that was a very good test for the athletes, and also a very good preparation for the Agnes Tirop Memorial Classic, which will be held on 12th of February.
So, looking at the senior women's race, let me start with there. Joyce Chepkemoi winning in 34 minutes flat, Margaret Chelimo of Police second, and Sally Finches Paul of Prisons coming in second. And they had to go through this mud pit that was 5 meters long. Ankle deep is shallow. That would be shallow if I was to describe it, that mud pit. I mean, could go as far as deep as half the shin. How then, for example, maybe after speaking to Chess Paul, who is a colleague, you are from the same team overall, what were they saying about that and seeing Chepkemoi winning the senior women's 10?
Yeah, the cause was tough. Even the ladies felt it, and most of them suffered. If you could look at the start list, some of the big guns were dropped at that point, especially going through that muddy section. You know, they did it 5 times because the course was 2 kilometers. And for Joyce Chepkemoi to lead from the start, from gun to tape, that was incredible. And beating Margaret Chelimo, a seasonal cross-country runner and also a long-distance 10,000-meter runner on the Kenyan team, and also Selfin Paul coming from an injury, it was not easy for her. And I think now we are now seeing another person coming on to replace Obiri, because Obiri now is definitely going to marathon.
Faith Cherono, Sandra Felix Chebet, and one name, by the way, who really felt the point of that, Ruth Chepngetich, a marathoner.
Yeah, you know, a marathoner, before they are able to get up their speeds because of doing long endurance training, it's like, you know, if you do your own research, most of the winners of this cross-country, you go back to Haile Gebrselassie, you come to Bekele, most of them had very good speed in 5,000. So if you're not good in 5,000, it's a challenge, because even you look at John Ngugi, the 5 times winner of the cross-country, was also a 5,000-meter runner, and he even won as a gold medal in Seoul Olympics. So for a marathoner to come and challenge the short sprinters in I call them the short sprinters in long distance.
In long distance running.
That is the 5,000-meter runner. It was quite a challenging, but you see, she went just 1 lap, she was ahead, and then things turned around because it's a fast course. It was tough also, and we could see Joyce taking the command and leading from that point until the last kilometers where she won the event.
Well, let's now talk about the senior men's competition. This one was won by Samuel Chebole, 29 minutes, 28.9 seconds, 10 kilometers. And here is the interesting fact about this. Normally at such events, you would think, let's look for the Kenya Defence Forces and the National Police Service. There was no podium from any member of the Defence Forces. That stood out. The best placed person from the Defence Forces was Michael Kibet of Police, who finished in 30 minutes, 13.3 seconds, taking 6th position. Total paradigm, shift of power in cross-country in Kenya. Because this is not, I think, the second time in 3 years that somebody from outside the Defence Forces has won the championship. The last one was Amos Kiru in 2019.
Yeah, if you look at the results, and this is where the forces do their recruitment. If you look at the results, Samuel Chebole won the event, and he was representing North Rift, I think. North Rift,
yes.
North Rift. You look at that results, North Rift won the 10 kilometers, South Rift won the women 10 kilometers, and then again, North or South Rift won the mixed relay. And these are teams from the regions. So this is whereby we normally scout our talent. And we went back at home, you know, Lobo Village, that is Eldoret, that is the home of champions. And now meeting people at their home is not easy to beat them. So it was tough race, and also food for thoughts for the forces to see how they can go about it, because they lost everything. In the individual title, it's only the women, whereby we had Joyce Chepkemoi winning the 10 kilometer, and she was from the Kenya Defence Forces, and also Margaret Chelimo from National Police Service, and Selfin Chespol from prisons. But for men, that's Samuel Chebole. imagine Samuel Chebeloi is graduating from the juniors. Now he's coming to the seniors. This is going to be good for us.
And by the way, he missed the 5,000 hits at the Olympics. So what's the prospect for him, knowing that, yes, he was not able to represent the country in Tokyo, but what are the prospects for him now?
And also, you should not forget that he beat Kimeli. Kimeli was in the Kenyan team. And you remember he finished 4th in Tokyo.
Yes.
So this is a new kid on the block. Samuel Chebeloi, watch out the space. This guy is going to do wonders, especially come the World Championships in Oregon and also the Commonwealth Games in Manchester.
Then we've got Benson Kiplagat, the 5,000 meters under-20 champion from Nairobi 2020. That was the official name of the championship, but took place in 2021. Won the under-20 8-kilometer boys, 24 minutes, 8 seconds. And then Samuel Kipadi from Central, 24:16. Reno Kipkorir from South Rift, third. You know, the job you had was this, together with Tiren and Skylark, was stadium announcer. What did you pick out from the under-20 men every time they passed by the mud pit, which you had a vantage point of, and as they started each of the laps?
Yeah, Benson Kiplagat proves that is a new kid on the block, because by winning the World Under-20 in Nairobi and also winning the Under-20 event in the 8-kilometer Under-20 in Lobo Village, Eldoret, it proves that this guy has a lot in store for us. And we think that if he's guided correctly, maybe this young man will be able to win more accolades for the country.
The one thing that was there is that towards the end, he kept gaining the lead because he had an 8-second gap between him and the second placed athlete. What is it that he saw from his running style as he came towards the finish that gave him that 15-20 meter gap?
Yeah, if you look at the history of cross country, the guys who do very well in cross country, they are not, the first 1 or 2 laps, they are not front runners. But after that, once they decide to engage the gear, the top gear, that's it. And this is what Benson Kiplagat did. The first 2 laps, he was just within the striking range. But after that, he took the control and he was able to dictate the pace until the finish of the race.
Well, that's the under-20 kilometer boys, and the under-20 girls was won by, this is 3 laps of it, was won by Faith Cherotich, and from South Rift, totally dominated by South Rift. Beatrice Chebet, the under-20 world champion from 2019, is also from South Rift. Look out for that, because they really dominate that. Faith Cherotich, keep your gun. A South Rift-born athlete is another one you've got to feel. But what's the whole feel you've got about this? Because Faith Cherotich eventually and Purity Chepkirui created this battle between themselves that nobody just could, deal with eventually.
Yeah, with the under 18 and under 20, we could see that we have very good boys and girls, and this is a plus for the country, and especially after the World Under 20. This brought some of our athletes at par with the big guns, and I think this is a bright future for us. And for the girls, I think we still have a lot, and the athletes will, in our reserve, we have so many athletes who are coming up, and we think that the women folks will be able to continue ruling the world in the world of athletics.
Now, let me talk about the under-18 boys. This is not an event that you would expect globally, but Athletics Kenya decided to include it at the National Championships in Eldoret, and this is to give the entire range of age categories. There are 3, the under-18, under-20, and the seniors, an opportunity to compete. So overall, there were 7 events. The under-18 boys won by Charles Rotich of North Rift with Rafael Dapash of South Rift taking second place, 18 minutes, 10 seconds. There was a battle here that, would like to talk about. What was that from your coaches, as a coach, and from somebody who was, observing and having to do that on-stadium job? That battle between Charles Rotich and Rafael Dapash over 3 laps. That saw Rotich overtake Dapash and somehow glide through the mud hole and get to the finish.
Yeah, first I want to thank the Federation, because everybody, we didn't know that they will include this event because it's not among the events being done in the World Athletics. But it's good to give them a stage, a platform for the young, the under 18. Secondly, that battle between Dabash and Rotich was also a very seesaw battle. For both of them, they're showing the spirit of running cross-country. You see, cross-country, you have to be courageous. You have to fight. You have to do all you can. And this is why you see the Ethiopians pitting us in this event. But the young guys who are coming on stage, they are also showing us that they have the ability and capability of matching anybody in this world. So it was a good race, especially the under 18, and a good platform for them to exploit their talent.
For those who are coaching the under 18s, because I think some of the under 18 athletes, they left their shoes in the mud pit. I don't know how they're going to be fished out, probably using a magnet because of the spikes. But what would you give to a youth coach if they're going to take their athletes to a course like the one we saw at Lobo?
The mud pit was being used to test their stamina and endurance. The other thing also that I don't know whether you got it in the picture, it's all over in the social media, is the athletes after competition, they went to wash their shoes there, look for their shoes. I'm telling you, it was a bit of it. But most of them went back there to look for their shoes, fishing for their shoes,
Yes.
Because some of them lost their shoes there, and on that muddy part of it. And it was quite interesting because you could see most of the spectators were down there trying to push their people and trying to tell them that it's okay, you just move. And Chebole and Timothy Cheriot showed some experience of running on the mud part of the event. And you could see also the Elijah Manangoi.
Yes.
The stamina on that part of it, that is where he was tested, and this is where he was overtaken, because there were some people who were coming after him. And in fact, when he was handing over the baton to Beatrice, he felt down at handing over the baton. So that section was so grueling, and it punished so many athletes. But it's good for preparation.
What would you tell a coach who's working with under 18 athletes before I even come to the under 18 girls and the mixed relay?
Yeah, the most important thing is to train the athletes on all terrain. Make sure that your athletes, during the build-up, because you know cross-country is build-up for track, you have to use all the terrain, you have to do the hill work, you have to do all kind of training so that the athletes are prepared and ready to go to the track. Track is much easier if you have gone through the kind of cross-country so in Lobo village. Yeah.
The under 18 girls, this is an interesting one. Pamela Kosgei, younger sister to Bridget Kosgei, she won it 18 minutes 19.4 seconds. Then her schoolmate Maureen Jepkoech taking second place, but 15 seconds behind. This was over 2.5 laps of the course. And for the technical officials, what was it like from your vantage point, where they knew that lap 1, an entire section was closed for the under 18 girls, then they open it at the second lap?
Yeah, the first lap, they used the first lap for the 1 kilometer. The event was, for the girls, was 5 kilometers. So, and the whole course was 2 kilometers. One loop was 2 kilometers. So they used the first lap to run the first kilometer. And then now they do the normal 2 kilometers to make it 5 kilometers. So it was also tough, and also the athletes had to do their calculation. That's very important. And also for Bridget Koskei's sister, it shows that in the family, the talent is there. Because the elder sister, Bridget, a marathoner, and now this young girl winning the 5 kilometers was also showing that the family has that thing in the family.
It runs in the DNA.
In the DNA.
And Pamela and Maureen are in the same school. And Brian, if you've got Maureen Jepkoech, hear her, because she spoke about her program in school where they've got to do their studies. It's a little bit of a wild program. If you just listen to it, if you try live to it, live up according to it, it would shock you. So, Brian, if you get Maureen speaking, you tell us about it. Yes, Brian, you can play. Okay. All right. So Maureen will be, Brian will be getting us that video of Maureen Jepkoech. But the two are in one school, St. Agnes School out. And how well do some of this, how much would schools, put out in terms of talent tapping at under 18? Because it's now not a global event, but concentrated at national and regional competitions.
Yeah, first and foremost, we are happy that Minister of Sports, we saw Professor Magoha saying that sports will be, they had removed sports, but now they have allowed sports to continue to reduce the pressure that we have in schools. So we are happy that we'll be able to maintain our tradition, we'll be able to maintain our winning, that because we've been winning all the events since time immemorial. And we need to keep this tradition. So for the young athletes who are coming up, the teachers should create time for them, because sports doesn't take all the time. And also it helps them it molds them into athletics, bring them into the athletics and a bright future in athletics. And that is important. And also it helps to create wealth for this country. And some of the athletes end up getting jobs in the institutions like the prison, police, and KDF. So it's a very important industry for Kenya. So we have to start from the primary level, go up to the secondary level, and continue promoting sports in this country.
All right, yes, and well, Brian tells me that we've got Maureen Jepkoech. Well, you can play out Maureen Jepkoech and listen to her speaking about the cross-country events and also the kind of training programs that they go through.
Sauti tusikie.
Nashukuru Mungu kwa umbali na amenitoa hadi wakati huu. Nilipoanza race hadi nikamaliza nikiwa salama. Na niyo tu.
Na mko shule moja na mshindi wa leo Pamela, tuambie kuhusu mazoezi yenu kile mnaifanya mkiwa pale shuleni.
Sisi huwa tunakuanga na coaches wawili, coach Mayo na coach Koech, na huwa tuna training asubuhi 5:30, tunaenda preps 5 hadi 5:30, alafu 5:30 tunaenda mazoezi yetu for 30 minutes. Maybe ni long run, speed walk ama fartlek. Alafu kila siku saa 10 tunaendanga field ama tunaenda circuit training kwa forest. Na hao coaches wanatusaidianga sana.
Sasa na after maybe leo ushindi ya leo, maybe kuna mbio gani unataka kushiriki tena?
Kwa nangangana, halafu ni join ya 118 hiyo ya February, ili ni join Kenya team. That time nililusingi, ndio nilikuwa nataka ni work hard kwa upcoming yenye nakuja.
That is the runner-up at the under-18 girls 5 kilometer race, Maureen Jepkoech. Coach, your response?
Yeah, the kind of training I think is okay, and also trying to squeeze time, mixing education and also training. That's important, and it shows that for you to succeed, you have to really work hard. And the units that she has talked about, doing the circuit training, doing the speed work, the fartlek, that's very crucial especially for training middle and long distance. Also, we use it in sprints, but it's very important what she has talked about, and it's important that parents should see that this development of sports does not start when somebody is old. You have to start when you are still young and continue with that discipline, which has really created a lot of work and also wealth for this country.
Finally, the mixed relay, or the universal relay as it is officially known, this went to South Rift. And you're a sprints coach, you have been the coach of the national relays team to global events. What is it that you noticed about the relay teams that took place before, eventually seeing even, a proud moment for you as Chespol made that final push for a podium place. That I think Catherine Dereva was very happy with the outcome at the senior women's, with the team finishing third.
Yeah, that was also a very interesting event, and we could see the spectators were very happy to see the push and pull. What was happening on the track was good, and especially I could see we had steeplechasers, Veronica Nyambura, making a comeback. Nyambura was very good in Diamond Leagues, and she made sure that the police were ahead of everybody. Then came Beatrice Chepkoech. And this battle between Beatrice Chepkoech, the world record holder in steeplechase, and Selfin Chespol, this was a battle and a half. And even coming to the last meters, whereby Selfin was able to pass Beatrice Chepkoech, made it more interesting. So it's a good event whereby you combined 2 male and 2 female, and it's quite interesting. Yeah.
And as we head now to the Agnes Tirop Cross Country Classic, first of all, for a message to any athlete or to somebody who may not have had the opportunity to watch that event, what would be the message? Anybody who wants to participate at the, a non-world athletics gold level events, what's the message to them about Lobo?
Lobo is a tough course. And I think only the best will be able to survive in that event. If they will continue maintaining the same circuit and also the same kind of terrain, then it's going to be tough. And for your information, you are talking about Samuel Chebole. I think this guy is up there. Nobody will stop him. You bring Kamoror, you bring who? It's going to be a battle and a half. The guy is okay now and ready to roll.
All right, Jeffrey Kamworor, you've heard it from Coach Stephen Mwaniki. Please prove him wrong on the 12th of February. And please, because the country will be watching on this channel as we cover that event, the senior men's, the World Athletics gold cross-country to a gold event. So they have been warned. And as we wind up, Coach, I know you do not know what your entry looks like, because I think since for the last 8 days, you've not been at the office because you spent 4 days in Diani at the Agnes Tirop conference. Give us, from your perspective of the conversations, your take out from that conference and the way forward from the Agnes Tirop conference.
Yeah, the Agnes Tirop conference in Diani Reef was a very important conference, and this was trying to expound on what is happening in the world of sports. And the message was out there, loud and clear. Say no more to gender-based violence. It is something that has affected us, and even losing one of important assets for this country. So we have to say no more to gender-based violence. We should treat our both sex equally, and we should always be working together for the benefit of this country.
Coach Stephen Mwaniki, they're giving us his thoughts on athletics and also the Agnes Tirop conference that took place in Diani last week from Monday through Thursday. So that means that and then I take his time this morning, so which means he's going to go to the office probably after lunch, after, almost 10 days out, talk cross country. Remember, 3 weeks, in under 3 weeks, the Agnes Tirop cross country classic at the Lobo village in Uasin Gishu County at Kapseret. If you're looking for Lobo village, there is a new bypass that's being built just before you get into Eldoret town. If you were to ride on a motorbike on it, then where you see one overpass, that's where the first overpass after the junction, that's where the Lobo village is. You will see a little pond and the course has been set up. That's where it is. It's flat. Make sure on the 12th, you get to watch the world's best, including Jeffrey Kamworor and Lettuce in Bed Gide. What's common about them? The half marathon world record. They will be coming for that event. Look out for it. Thank you very much, Coach. And we shall leave you with the sounds of some of the athletes who are at the National Cross Country Championships. Let me see. You'll hear from Charles Rotich, Faith Cherotich, Then you also will hear from Benson Kiplagat and Kenneth Kiprop as we get ready to move to the next conversation, which is about football. The FKF Premier League, we had an 8-goal thriller last week, and the second leg starts today. Those two teams are involved, plus the shocker of the night. Nigeria fly away. The Super Eagles forced out of the skies by the Carthage Eagles. Join John Agriotieno in just about 3 minutes.
Tumeshiriki mzuri tukaweza kuiona. Tunamshukuru Mungu kwa hayo.
Ulikuwa na matarajio ya kushinda leo?
Nilikuwa na matarajio ya kushinda. Bado nashukuru Mungu kwa sababu nimeshinda.
Umemaliza katika nafasi ya pili. Labda mpinzani wako alikushindia wapi?
Mwenzangu alinishindia huko kwa maji. Sababu kiatu ilikuwa imeraruka. So ndio maana alinishindia na huko. But siku nyingine I will improve for that.
Sasa baada hapa matumaini yako na matarajio ni yapi?
Matarajio yangu ni kwenda mbele, sio kurudi nyuma.
Unatrainia wapi?
Natrainia Nakuru. Ndio wetu Njoro.
Na shule unasoma wapi?
Njoro nasomea hapo Njoro. High school form 2.
Shule inaitwaje?
Darakwa.
Kocha wako nani?
Coach Mr. Ngao.
Mr. Ngao. Ngao nani?
Charles.
Uko form?
Form 2.
Form 2 shule ni?
Tuambie vile kushinda leo na kujua ya kwamba Tapash alikuwa ameongoza alafu ukampita kwa lapu ya mwisho. Tuambie vile resi imekuendea leo.
Resi kwa majina ni Just Rotich. Resi haikuwa rahisi, ilikuwa ngumu, but nilishukuru Mungu mpaka nikashinda vyema.
Tuambie vile ulivyokuwa katika nafasi ya pili ukampita Rafael ndio ukakuja kumshinda.
Yani ilikuwa ngumu, but kwa matope naye nikaanza kushinda mwenzangu mwenye alikuwa mbele zangu.
Hii mwaka unajipanga kukimbia mbio gani zingine?
3000.
Kwa na competition unajipanga kwenda? Tuambie unasomea wapi, unafanyia mazoezi wapi?
Ninasoma West Pokot. Natrainia Sioi. Niko shule Kapkecha Secondary School. Mtu.
Na leo unajisikiaje kwamba umefaulu kupata ushindi katika kitengo cha wavulana?
Nilishukuru Mungu mpaka nikaanza kushinda vizuri.
Ni mara yako ya kwanza kushinda katika mashindano kama haya?
Si mara ya kwanza, but nilishinda cross country kule Ngong. But nilikuwa position 3. Nakwenda Toko.
Going forward, labda malengo yako na matarajio?
Matarajio naweza train vizuri, but naweza ndio nishinde mazuri huko mbele.
Asante.
Nilikuwa nakimbia under 8 km junior men. I thank God today for winning this race. I target Continental Tour cross country yenye itafanyika mwezi wa pili. Tunashukuru hii Roto Foundation ametusaidia tukakamilisha hii race.
Siri yako ushindi leo ilikuwa gani?
Sikuwa natarajia kuwin hii race because nilikuwa nataka race juzi. But God amenisaidia
Benson, hebu tueleze hii course umeiona ikiwa namna gani?
Hii course haikuwa rahisi, ilikuwa ngumu. Kwanza mlima ilikuwa mbaya na hiyo maji tulikuwa tunawekelea inafika hapa. Haswa mimi nilikuwa mfupi, nikaingia ndani.
Unasikiaje leo kwamba umeshinda tena?
Nasikia poa. Nilikuwa nimejiandaa Serengeti. Tulikuwa tumejiandaa, coach alikuwa ameniambia hebu enda try usikie mwili vile iko, tukuje tuangalie vile tutafanya.
Imekuwaje leo ukakimbia cross country kwa uwanja?
Nilikuwa nakimbia cross country but nilikuwa nakimbia yote. Yeah.
Wewe ni bingwa wa 20.
Yeah.
5000.
Yeah.
Hii mwaka pia kuna under 20 na kuna senior.
And welcome back to Sports Check on this Monday morning. It's the 24th day of January. And, well, quite some interesting conversations in athletics and motorsport. But right now, we'll be moving on to football. But just before I do that, just a recap of the events that we are looking at. We've first had the COWU Secretary General, Benson Okwaro, give his reaction to Musalia Mudavadi saying that the labor movement is weak. He said there will be a new president in 7 months' time. And they will work with the person who's there, but they are displeased with being described as bodies that have been loitered. Then we also have got ODM leader Raila Odinga. He's meeting with Muranga leaders, and that's at Thika Greens. And also the Mount Kenya Foundation, they're going to be meeting with leadership from the Ma community on, how coexistence in this country, mainly from the political scene. So, and also Dan Mwendwa, he is at the Nairobi club where we have got the ITF Junior Tournament that's taking place on a weekend when Kenya has had a history maker, Angela Okutoi. She is the first Kenyan girl to win a match at the junior main draw of the Australian Open at a Grand Slam level. In tennis, there are only 4. The Australian Open, the French Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open. She's the first Kenyan girl to do so. And we also know that legendary Paul Wekesa is a man who played at those Grand Slams. He actually made it to the quarterfinals of a Grand Slam. Kenya's best ever tennis player. So a lot of inspiration and stories that are coming up, and we'll keep up with her progress at the Australian Open. She's playing in the singles and the doubles. Look out for our sports bulletins on TV, online, and on radio, and we shall give you Angela Okutoi's story. But now, let's move on to football. Kenya is a country that's been watching a lot of football, but before we go to the Cup of Nations and also moving on to the European leagues, just some good news coming through, especially for the Harambee Starlets. And